Okay, this is the next episode in All Apologies, Guilt and Blame. It's my third podcast. It's also my third book in the series Life Beyond Silence. The first book was titled Not a Victim, a Survivor, Life Beyond Domestic Violence and Rape. The second one was titled Losing Touch with Reality. I know for sure you can find the first one on a variety of avenues or in a variety of avenues like Barnes and Nobles, Amazon, things like that. The reason I did the podcast to begin with was so that I could touch base with people that are listening. And if they wanted to comment or ask questions, I could do my best to answer those. It also gave me another avenue in which to kind of finalize everything I had written years ago and add to what I wrote years ago so that, I don't know, I could possibly fill in some of the blanks. At times, I do feel like that is happening, that I am filling in more than what I actually wrote in the books, but I don't know, you know. Um, I guess I just wanted to finalize book 2 and book 3. I never actually put them on Amazon, and I felt like doing the podcast gave me a reason to finish that, maybe. Anyway, let's get back into the episodes. First of all, I want to apologize for yesterday's episode. There was a lot going on here. My ex was here helping my daughter with her home. I was here cooking and taking care of my grandson. Um, there were other people here, and it was a lot. There was a lot of noise, a lot of activity going on. But luckily enough, I was able to finish up and send out a podcast yesterday. So let's get into the episode. So yesterday I was talking about my health, a therapist, my family being here, and I guess more often than not, I was talking about my feelings towards my mother and my father and close family members that um, have not been the most positive in my life. But basically, I have dealt with that, and I can't just stop talking to them. And I guess I want to take a break from what I have been talking about to say that I was dealing with my health and going to the therapist when my grandson was born. And my daughter had just basically started a new job. And she'd been working for a while, but I was a little concerned because COVID was just kind of opening up, and he was born in December of 2019, and by the time his mom's maternity leave had gone, had been used. Well, first came a tornado in Nashville, and that was pretty significant, and a lot of people died, and that was horrible. And it shut down her office for a while, but on the tails of that was COVID breaking. And, you know, I knew right away this was going to be significant. And by the time they announced that it was a pandemic, even though the government was kind of trying to say it wasn't going to spread, they thought they had it, they thought it would go away. I knew it wasn't. And to be honest, I had no idea there was going to be a run on toilet paper first thing. But I was having medical issues, and it was a lot. It was, sorry, there was a motorcycle that went by out front, but it was a lot. The motors, I started to say the motorcycle, the pandemic impacted all of us, all the countries, all the people, and to see people die the way they did was horrifying. But, and especially having a newborn baby around was scary. I was at home because I couldn't get out the way that I had been, and I tried to help watch him, but she was soon enough working from home because of the pandemic. But, you in a pandemic, especially like with the one we went through, you don't know. There's no cure, there's no way of stopping it. And so everybody was concerned as to if it might hit one of us. And that, when I say one of us, I just don't mean here in Tennessee. I mean Kentucky. I mean any of our family members anywhere. And many people that I know got it. Some did not make it. And that in itself is horrifying, to say the least. But I was glued to the TV and the information. I even got emails begging me to come back to work, begging me to work for other companies, because nursing needed help, but physically I was unable to. I had my health conditions. I had my family to think about. And medically, I would not have been the best person to be on the front lines. I was still having my extremely high blood pressure. I'm a diabetic, and at my age, getting anything that would impact my lungs would be a death sentence. And I passed up a lot of opportunities, but I had to, I really did. And as well as many other people had to. And I think healthcare was really strained from everybody that I talked to that I once knew. It seemed to be strained to the max. Everybody was working long hours, and it was much more than you might know that it was. I think society in general, there's a portion of society that doesn't feel like the government tells everything, and there are things that I don't feel like the government tells everything about. I'm one of them in a way, but I'm not stupid, and I'm not thinking of some kind of cover up or I don't know how you'd say it. I'm like, I'm not conspiracy theory. I'm not a conspiracy theorist. I'm not. But I did believe that we weren't being told everything transparently. And I did think that Trump was really crashing and burning on how he handled things. And he did. He really, I mean, I think, to be honest, I think he isn't as smart as he thinks he is. So I think he just didn't let the officials that knew the truth say the truth. And I think that's really horrible. Because I think if they were allowed to say the truth, and I know spreading panic is not a good thing. Don't get me wrong. I know that. But in a state of emergency, okay, like an example would be if we were fixing to get an asteroid hit, I would want to know. As quick as I could, I would want to know I have, let's say, a month before we've had a catastrophic impact to our world and life ceases to exist as it is now. I would want to know that. A, so I could kiss my butt goodbye. B, so I could enjoy being with my family as much as possible. So I could have my grandkids around me. So, I don't know. So that you can make the best of what time you have. So knowing that COVID was going to impact us severely, in my opinion, would have escalated the fact that everybody went into taking care of themselves at home, staying at home, closing the doors on businesses, making everything deliverable. I think the fact that he didn't or wasn't honest or didn't let the officials be honest, I think that kept school open, that kept businesses open, that kept people from real panic at the very first. I think the 30-day lockdown kind of thing was just a pacification, saying, okay, we're going to shut down for a month. We're going to, do this. We're going to do that. And then it'll be over, That's crazy. Like 30 days is nothing. And then it just kind of spiraled. And people were dying left and right. People were demanding answers. They weren't getting them. There were people like me that wanted the answers. There were people also that thought it was a cover up, or I don't know. I mean, there were even people, and I am dead serious. There were people that thought our own government had a play in sending out this infection, this virus that was doing this, and that it wasn't as bad as it was. Like, they just didn't believe it. And I was just like, what? What are they talking about? Let's send all the non-believers that people are dying into the ERs and into the intensive cares. Let's call them on it, because by the time there was a whole bunch of deaths, and the naysayers who were like, I'm not going to wear a mask, I'm not going to do this, I don't think it's as bad as all that. Yeah, let's put a sign out. We've now tried to tell you, and let's say, okay, then come in. You come in. You handle being coughed on. You handle going into these wards that are packed with people that have this infection. And guess what? We don't have a vaccine yet. But, of course, the government, no matter if or if not they told you everything, the government's not going to tell the normal person that's just a naysayer, come on into the ER or the intensive care ward and walk around. It's okay if you get it because you don't believe in it. Nobody's going to do that. I would do that, but nobody else is going to do that. I would be like, yeah, I'll do the tour bus, and we will go to a hospital and we will walk in. How's that? But, no, I'm just being, I wouldn't say I'm being funny. I'm saying that I was disgusted by the whole way that it didn't play out the way that I was hoping for, let's say. To be honest, I had high hopes for Americans. Just like with 9/11, I hope that most anybody, let's say 90% of Americans, would be like, I get it. This is bad. And we want to preserve our way of life. So let's do whatever they tell us to do. Let's stay home. Let's come up with good ideas for home delivery and making sure everything is available for anybody that needs it. And let's wear masks, and let's do whatever is asked of us for the greater good. I honestly hoped that at least 90% of Americans did that. And by the time the government actually, and I'm talking more Trump than anything, I feel like at first it was played off because it was just like they didn't want panic. Trump didn't want panic. So it was like, let's not admit the truth. Let's kind of just keep it to ourselves. And that didn't work out well. Not at all. But at a certain point, he had to admit, and the government had to actually say, not clearly maybe, but the government actually had to say, look, this is real, people. This is real, and we're not there yet with vaccines. So schools won't be able to open the way that they were. We're just going to have to stay at home. We realize the numbers are high on losing their jobs, and we realize it's tough out there. I guess by the time all that realization came into play, I just felt more and more Americans were tired of listening and thinking that it was not the truth that way either. The other hadn't been the truth, but this way wasn't true either. So I think a lot of people just was like, I'm not doing any of that. I haven't gotten COVID, so why should I be punished? Why can't I go in a bar? Why can't I go out to eat? Why can't I go to a movie? Why can't I do all these things? Because I'm not getting it. And I guess a lot of people were just like unbelievers. They just weren't understanding. But the point is, when all that went down the way that it did in 2020, I was glued to the TV. And I was truly worried about what would happen next. And it was a lot. It was a lot to go through. I will admit that. It was a lot. And sad to say, I think not only our country, but many other countries went through just as horrible of a time as we did. It was all over the news. And I think people that are wanting to hurt us, unfortunately, got to see what happens when our country, along with other countries, are divided, especially ours. They got to see that we as a country do not stand together, and as sad as that is, they got to see how to divide us and how easy it is to divide us as a nation. And you know how the Pledge of Allegiance and the songs of allegiance that are out there to our country, even our money, kind of puts out that you know, we will not be divided. We will stand as one against foreign and domestic. But in the instance of COVID, we truly lacked on that. And we were divided. And we did show that we could be divided on what to do in an emergency. And that was truly sad. You know, if you're going to be an American and have lived your entire life believing that we would all stand together against foreign and domestic, I guess you would say against foreign and domestic threats, that we would all stand together, just the way that we did in 9/11. You know, everybody was up in arms. Everybody believed, let's find who did this and let's make them pay, because they hurt our fellow Americans. And it didn't matter that it was New York, or that it was the Pentagon, or that it was an airplane in Pennsylvania. It did not matter. Everybody, even from a small town in Kentucky, would gladly stand and fight against people that chose to take up arms against our country. But I think in this case with COVID, they saw how easily our country is divided when there's so many of us that thought it was a conspiracy theory, or thought that it was not as bad as, or I guess people thought it wasn't as bad as what it was being portrayed as, but they also just did not want to be told to do something. You know, you've been told to do things all your life as a child and everything, and now as a grown-up, you don't want to be told what to do when it could save somebody in your family, or you, or somebody next to you. You don't want to hear what you can do to protect yourself, your family, those that you work with. That's too much for you to be wearing a mask, to be washing your hands, to be not going out here and buying up toilet paper like you have to have it. You don't want to share with other people. You get mad because things are closing. You get mad because owners of businesses want to protect their workers and themselves, and they choose to follow direction of the government. And you're like, nope, I don't have to wear a mask. It's illegal for you to tell me I have to wear a mask. It was crazy watching it all. To me, it was sad and it was crazy. So I just wanted to say that I didn't really say it as good as I wanted to, but yeah, I just kind of wanted to get my feelings out on the whole COVID thing. I will say, I was, as a matter of fact, just talking about it yesterday when we had all the people here. I do believe that there will be another one, and it won't take as long as this one did to happen. I do believe that there is a threat out there that saw how it literally shut down the world. There was so many countries, including ours, that it just crippled from this pandemic that we just went through, that is actually still it's adapting. The threat of COVID is adapting, and there's still many forms of it out there, and people still get COVID. There's not the deaths that we did have, but there's a lot of people that still haven't yet taken a vaccine because they just don't believe in it. And I get it. It's your right not to have a vaccine if you don't want one. But it also showed the way we handled COVID that we're divided. And that I do believe that another pandemic is just around the corner. Whether it's man-made, whether it's not man-made, I just believe it could possibly be around the corner that we go through something similar or even worse. And the thought of that really scares me and should scare you. It should scare every one of you. Because if you went through COVID the way I did, the thought of anything worse that we would have to go through as a nation, as a world, that's crazy. Really crazy. But I hope if we do, we stand as one and not divided. I'm going to get off here. My podcasts are always too long, and I don't mean for them to be. So I'm going to stop here, and I will see you next time. Please continue to listen, and thank you for listening to All Apologies.